Fantastic. Okay, so what we're working on, this is session 7. So this is find and win the buyer. So we're going to be talking specifically about your attracting buyer business with buyers, and figure out how we're going to cultivate your leads into buyer opportunities. So first off, what do successful agents do every day? Well, there's a slide and it tells us. So according to this slide, there are a few things that we do. First of all, we concentrate on 2 areas. We're going to grow our business and we're going to run our business. Get ready to write this down. The secret to being a successful real estate agent is, drum roll, there isn't one. It's because success leaves clues, guys, and we know exactly what successful real estate agents do every day. It doesn't get any more. I mean, this is it. This is exactly what we do. Every day, agents do 2 types of activities. They grow their business and they run their business. So the growing of the business, lead generating for buyers and sellers, we do that every single day. We work on seller listing presentations. We present to our sellers and we take listings. We have buyer consultations. You guys, we have buyer consultations. You've heard that. That's when we meet with our buyers and we tell them the process and we get those buyer clients. We preview real estate. We are looking online at homes. We're going in person to look at homes. We're taking our clients to look at homes. We're talking to other agents about their listings. And we're constantly previewing real estate. We're paying attention to what's going on in the market. That's how we grow our business. And then we run our business. We market those seller listings. So when we get those listings, we're marketing those. When we have our buyer clients, we're showing buyer houses. A huge part of what we do, we negotiate contracts. Our transaction management to closing, some of us will have transaction coordinators that we will use. Others of us will do the entire process on our own, but we're always taking that transaction, we're managing those transactions to get to closing. Vendor management, sometimes that's one that people forget about, but that's an important part of your business is your vendor management, knowing who your go-to people are. You become a referral expert for your clients. Somebody needs a handyman, somebody needs a new roof, you need your HVAC system serviced. We manage those vendors. We know who our go-to people are. If you're new in the business, it's a great opportunity to start having conversations with vendors and start figuring out who it is that you want to represent your brand, who you want to recommend to your clients. I would say to go even a step further when you're talking about the vendor management is to make sure that you are taking care of your vendors. You could hold a vendor appreciation event once a year, invite people over to a backyard. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can send thank you notes to your vendors, but definitely keep in mind that, you know, we spend a lot of time making sure we're staying in touch with our buyers and sellers. You also want to do that with your vendors. We also set goals. Part of running our business is goal setting. If you're in productivity coaching, you know we talk about goals constantly. Compliance and risk management, you've got to do that. And if you're going to own a business, you've got to understand compliance and risk management. Another part of running your business is attend training and get coaching. Training's huge. I mean, we've seen the studies behind that support the agents who actually are involved in training and education are more successful than the agents who don't. So you guys, good job for being here. And then the other part of running our business is managing money. Any questions on that? Any ahas in that? All right, moving on. So these are the skills that we're going to focus on. So lead generate for buyers and sellers. So have you guys, let me make this big. I want to see your faces on here. Everybody unmute. I want to have some feedback. Thanks for unmuting. So talk to me about what your lead generation looks like right now. What's lead generation to you? What's it look like?
Well, for me, I should be doing it right now. But in PC coaching with Kristen, we have block time on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 until 11 to lead gen. So I had to, because we're doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the same time, I've been doing my lead gen in the afternoon.
Yeah, so you've done the erase and replace. So if it's not happening Monday morning now, you're doing it in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Who else? What's your lead generation look like?
I can go. I haven't actually started just yet, but I'm still learning about the business and working through the licensing. So I'm excited to get started with lead gen.
Fantastic. Thanks for being on here, Howie. Way to tackle it. Anybody else want to share what their lead generation looks like? I want to hear from you.
So mine, I'm also in coaching with Krista, and I do lead gen throughout the day. Sometimes I can do it in the morning, sometimes it has to be in the afternoon, or even the evening.
Mm-hmm.
My lead generation, though, lately has been slow. I have a lot of old internet leads, and I'm just constantly working through over and over and over again. I don't seem to get very far with them. So I am interested in additional leads as well. So I'm not sure about that, but so that's kind of what I'm working on.
Okay, so real need there. Okay. How about you, Taylor? What's your lead generation look like?
I'm actually on a team with Bella Demora, and we have like a window on Zoom that's open from 10 to 12:45. So we're on it on mute, and we're just keep holding each other accountable for doing some sort of lead gen pretty much every day. And it's mostly, a lot of it's internet leads like Shelly. Just yesterday though, I'm a new agent. I'm in my first month or two. One of my spheres actually texted me yesterday, and I should be signing my first buyer's contract today. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, I'm really very excited.
That's great.
Congratulations. So
Thank you.
How did they know to contact you?
I had already contacted them initially. We uploaded my whole database, and I was keeping in contact with everyone. And she said she was going to wait until she finished school in the fall, because I knew that she was going to be looking. And she said she decided that she could afford it sooner. So she's ready to go.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. And that leads me to how important your database is. You guys, your database is your business. Your business is your database. You're going to hear that over and over and over again, but it's so true. That database is where you start. And I love internet leads. I love Facebook. I love the opportunity to find leads in other places. But that database is where we all start. And whenever a business starts to feel like it's slowing or slumping, that's where you always go back to. Your database is your business. So it's really important for you to understand the importance of your database. And who here does not have a database? Right, everybody does. We all do. We all have a database. We've all got our cell phone. Whenever you're feeling like, okay, I don't know who to call, just pick up the phone and start dialing. You've got people in there. So that database is crazy important. So that's the first part of our business, is lead generation. Lead generation for buyers and for sellers. So let's find the buyer. So our agenda for the day is we're going to, and this is going to be, do we have 1 hour? How long do we have, Amy?
You know, it's scheduled to end at 11:30. Okay. So really just, you know, it's up to you though. You're in charge.
Okay. All right, awesome. So we're going to talk about finding the buyer, cultivating buyer leads, qualifying buyer leads, signing the buyer agreement, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for a recap and some ahas. Fair enough? All right, let's jump in. All right, so I found this interesting. Let me move this out of the way. So 89% of the buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent. This is from 2019 NAR. By the way, guys, if you have not checked out NAR, go to their website. They are a wealth of information. I'm kind of shocked by how often we forget to go over and look at that one, but I love NAR. The stats are there. They have so much interesting information there for you and material that you can use, but check out NAR. But anyway, one of the things they do is they're constantly polling. They're talking to buyers, sellers, and your fellow agents to get this information. So this is just last year. 89% of buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent. That is something you need to talk to your FSBOs about. 41% of those buyers found their agent through a referral from friends or family. Remember how we were just talking about your database, how important that is? There's a reason. Here's one right now, right in front of us. 41% of buyers found their agent through referrals from friends or family. So when we're having those conversations with our friends and our family, even if they're not ready to buy or sell a home, they are still wonderful advocates for you. They're going to share your information with others. We just have to ask them to do that and remind them. So 41%. Also, 75% of buyers interviewed only one real estate agent during their home search. Does this surprise you at all?
I don't think it does in our market. I mean, I'm new, but it doesn't for me. I don't know why, but I don't know.
It does for me a little bit, just because I'm a clicker. So if I click with somebody, I know right away.
Right.
Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you get a feeling, a vibe, whatever it is. Sometimes you don't click right away. So I think it's an important investment. So I think it's important to just kind of talk to a couple of agents if you can.
Right.
But if you know, so I don't know.
Yeah, what I found curious about this was not necessarily because it's 75% of buyers interviewed only one real estate agent. That one doesn't surprise me so much. I'm curious to know what the percentage is for sellers. I feel like with a seller, maybe that would be a little lower. I don't know. I feel like on the listing side, a seller is more likely to interview more than one agent when it comes time to sell their home versus when it comes time to buy a home. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that that's probably accurate. But anyway, 75% of buyers interviewed only one real estate agent, which means we just have to get in front of them. We just need to set up the interview. Once we are in front of them, once we have that buyer's consultation, once that appointment is set, the odds are in your favor that they're going to work with you. Another one, 51% of buyers visited an open house as a way to search for homes. Now, of course, that's changed. We're in the middle of COVID. That's not going to be the same this year, I'm sure. However, it's still something to keep in mind that open houses do generate business. They do bring you buyer leads. So even in the middle of COVID, we need to remember that stat might not be the same for 2020. However, there's still an opportunity to find buyers when working an open house. Is everybody working open houses? Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, can I piggyback off you? I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Sure. No, please do. I want interaction.
So many agents on here are new. And Lucy, I think you've been an agent for a minute, maybe. Yeah. And I've been an agent for a year. So I love open houses. I sold 2 houses. I closed 2 houses this spring based on folks I met at open houses in the late fall, early winter. And I've been doing open houses since we've been allowed to. So for 3 or 4 weeks now. And the first week was super weird. And I can't say why, but it was just weird with the visitors and the guests. The last 3 weeks have been great.
Interesting.
Lots of traffic. People are excited. It seems like it did last year. At least that's been my perspective. So.
That's good to know, Shelley. Is anyone else hosting open houses? No one else?
I gave my open house, it was Father's Day, so I gave my open house to another agent, and they told me they had maybe 8 groups going through the open house, so it had a good turnout.
Wow. And on Father's Day, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, open
I'm
houses
interested.
work.
I don't have any buyers yet or sellers yet, but I will be doing them when I do. I'm also open if anybody needs me in Ohio to do one. Happy to help out and kind of get that training.
Yeah. if you guys aren't actively looking for open houses, I would suggest that you do that. It's a great opportunity. One of the things that we talk about because we track our numbers, and when I say we, it's often about the River Valley Group, our team. And so we track our numbers on our team, and we've got it to where we know where our deals are coming from. So if we're closing 3 deals a month, we're able to say at the River Valley Group, those 3 deals, one is coming from networking, one's coming from internet leads, and one's coming from our database. And so we kind of know that we're working on networking opportunities, we're working on touching our database, and we're working on putting some money into our website to capture internet leads. And the open house is one of those networking opportunities. And it does work. So I would definitely suggest that you guys look for open houses, actively look for them if you are ready to start working opens. And you can tackle that just like you would looking for buyers and sellers. So for open houses, you would get on the hot sheet, let's say Monday morning, and see what the new listings are in your area and start looking to see if it's the price point you want to work, because you should have an idea of what price point you want to be working in. If it's an area that you want to work in, so if you're having an open house, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to have an open house out in the middle of nowhere where there's not going to be a lot of traffic, right? So you want to be strategic about where you're choosing to host that open house. So you're going to look possibly in a popular neighborhood, a price point that feels good to you. And you're going to want to look at the marketing online. What do the photos look like on the MLS? You don't want to go work an open house where as soon as you open it up and the photos are horrible, because you might not have a whole lot of traffic there. So you want to make sure it's priced right, it's being marketed well, good looking house, great photos, area you like, price point you like. And then you just start reaching out to those realtors and asking, can I host your open house? I would love to, work an open house for your client this weekend. Is that something you'd be interested in? I'll tell you that listing agents will fall all over themselves to accept that. So we're more than happy to have somebody else work the open houses. So you do have real opportunity to find those opens, even if you don't have the seller. Does that make sense? Thumbs up. All right, fantastic. I feel like I'm flying through this. Okay, so let's talk about cultivating some buyer leads. So this is once we've had a conversation. When you guys are having these conversations, I want to back up real quick. Make sure that you've created a system for follow-up. Follow-up is key. When you're making these calls, when you're having these conversations, you need to make sure that you're getting information from everyone. That's name, email, phone number, mailing address if you can. And then you are making sure that you have them on a calendar, some kind of plan for following up. It's also not a bad idea after you talk to somebody the first time to send them a handwritten note. Does anybody do that? Beth, you do. Shelly, you do. Yeah, the handwritten note, guys, goes a long way. It really does. So it just helps you stand out. Think about it. If you were the client, if I were talking to you and asking you for your business and telling you how I'm getting ready to help you find the home of your dreams, and then we hang up and I put a note in the mail, and the next day, 2 days later, you get a card, do you feel like that I would stand out at all by sending you that note? Would you be impressed at all by that?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. I mean, I know I would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And it's amazing how that impresses us. It's so easy to have a conversation on the phone. It's so easy to text, so easy to email. But then when somebody goes that extra step and they put a handwritten note in the mail, game changer. That's actually one of the things on my my areas of growth is to get back to writing handwritten notes. I've got the notes. I just have to do it. It's on my calendar. I'm going to. Okay, so now we've got to cultivate these buyer leads. So once we've had the conversation with the lead, we need to cultivate the lead. And this is actually where Command will really help you. So we're talking about having a follow-up plan. Command will really shine. This is what will help. Okay, let's cultivate these buyer leads. So this is the lead generation model. Have you guys heard of the lead generation model? If you're familiar with the MREA, you have heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
You can see this, the lead generation model, and this is for a solo agent, okay? So you found them, and now you're going to put them in smart plans. Do you guys have, those of you who are active real estate agents, do you guys have smart plans set up?
I set up over the weekend for my sphere of influence. I set up a monthly nurture for all of them, and I'm working on doing a birthday smart plan as well.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. What else?
They'll receive a handwritten card from me.
Nice, well done. Who else has started any smart plans? Anyone else start?
I do smart plans.
You do? Fantastic. So
I like that I don't have to think about anything. The less I have to think about things and remember and like discharge my things, the better it is for me.
exactly. Well, that's leverage. I mean, we talk about leverage over and over again. So you allow Command to be your leverage. So you know that you need to be following up. You know you need to be reaching out to your database. Well, you allow Command to help you with that. And that's what the smart plan does. So when you're starting to have conversations with a new contact and you've added them to your database, you can do something like add them to a long-term nurture smart plan. If you've got a contact that has expressed interest in a specific neighborhood, you can add them to a neighborhood nurture smart plan. There's all kinds of stuff that we can do, but having a conversation, you know, everyone you have a conversation with can be added to some type of smart plan. You just have to listen for their needs and then find a smart plan that's appropriate for them. So when you're having these conversations, take good notes so you know exactly what to set them up with and what's going to be appropriate for where they are in the process. Okay, so prospecting and marketing. So that's where we're looking for these folks to add to our database. We've captured them. So they become leads and we're tracking them and we're sending them offers. So one-way and offer-based touch programs. So what could be an example of an offer-based touch program? Anybody have any ideas? None? Okay, so one of the things that we're doing when we're contacting our leads in our database is that we're providing them information. So we just talked about how we could add them to a smart plan that's a neighborhood nurture smart plan. So our neighborhood nurture smart plan can be telling you, let's say your neighborhood is Smith Point. And Smith Point neighborhood, your client wants to know everything there is to know about the home sales. What's the average sale price in that neighborhood? When a new house hits the market, what's the average days on market in that neighborhood? You can put together a neighborhood smart plan for that lead. You can put a long-term nurture smart plan. The other thing that we can do is the offer-based touch programs. You can engage. So we've talked about how we're trying to get our database or people engaged, not only just getting the information, but actually responding to what we need them to respond to. We can make things more interactive. We're connecting and offering. Let's say you list a house with me and we're going to pay for your home warranty for a buyer, or even on the buyer side, you're going to work with me and I'm going to pay for your home warranty. If you list your house with me and you qualify for a certain price point, I'm going to offer to send a cleaning person over to your house before photos. But we're constantly providing value, and you can do that through smart plans as well. Have you guys been working and are you guys feeling familiar with Command when you go into Command and you create you've got your contacts in there and you're building those smart plans? Do you guys feel comfortable in there?
I do. I mean, I'm learning. When I did my started my neighborhood nurture, I had one of Nick's videos on one screen, and then I was doing it, you know, with him as he was teaching, and then I'd pause and do, and then, you know, so that was helpful. But once I did it once, then I was able to, you know, bulk 50 at a time and
Right.
go them very quickly.
Right. So
Yeah.
you tried one and then now you've opened it up to others.
Exactly.
Okay. And are you getting any kind of, how are your responses on those?
Well, I just did it. I mean, so
Okay.
they haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
So yeah, anybody that I had in my database that had an email,
Mm-hmm.
I put on there.
Okay.
So
Anyone else having any luck in Command as far as your smart plans go? Bottom line is, whether you're using Command or not, you're going to want to have some kind of campaign. You're going to want to have, for instance, on our website, when somebody registers on our website, we immediately start with a text, an email, and then a phone call. And so they get on there and they're getting an automatic text from us that, let's say it's a buyer lead. It's a, hey, Beth, saw you were looking at 123 Main Street. Would you like for me to, oh, by the way, that's something I've made sure we've done within COVID. I'm not just asking for people to go see a house. I'm asking them if they'd like to visit a house or if they would like for me to do an agent preview. That might be something to think about too, because you're still going to have clients who aren't quite comfortable going into homes right now. So instead of just immediately assuming that they want to walk in and see a house, maybe you could give the option. And I've actually had a couple of leads reach out to me from that smart plan and say, yes, I'd love for you to do an agent preview for me. So that's something to think about when you're creating those smart plans, if that's a question or something that you would like to offer them, not just showing the house, but actually doing an agent preview for them. So once we've got our leads and our contacts, we've got them in here and we're connecting with them, we've captured them, we're connecting with them, then we just start the cultivation. So we're making sure that we're interactive and we're nurturing and we're qualifying them. This is where we start asking some of the good questions of, you know, finding the motivation behind them, finding out whether or not they've talked to a lender, what their buying power is. I love that buying power. Instead of saying what you're qualified for sounds to me, or pre-approved for, sounds like, I don't know what that sounds like, but to me, it just sounds stronger when I say, what's your buying power? So when I'm talking to a buyer, I'll say, you know, okay, we're talking about this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it's a gorgeous house. Yeah, we can absolutely see it. So let's talk about, have you talked to a lender? Have you discovered what your buying power is yet? So those are the kind of things that you're going to find out in this cultivation process. And so when you're asking those questions, this is where we're going to lead to the appointment. So after the cultivating process, we go straight into appointment. That's when we get in front of them. That's either face-to-face or on Zoom. You know, we're doing a lot of these buyer consultations via Zoom. So this is where you get the appointment. And again, you're going to dig in even further in the appointment. And then they become actively looking. You've got them pre-approved. You're ready to rock and roll. You're going to start looking at houses, which, by the way, do not show houses to buyers until you have them approved. We'll get into that a little bit more. And then once we're looking at property, the next thing that happens is we get them under contract. This is all part of the sales pipeline. We started lead generation, then we went to the database, and then we're down here at the sales pipeline. So once you have them actively looking at homes, the next point is we're going to get them under contract. And then, of course, the fun part, get them to close. Can you guys see your faces on here when I'm dragging you around? Yeah, That's a bummer. I try not to block it all. This is a great idea, guys. If you're getting in here and starting to play around in Command, add yourself to a smart plan so you can actually see what's happening. This is such a good idea. Even when you're doing an MLS search and you're putting your client on a saved search, whatever you're doing for your clients, if you've never seen it actually happen, do it for yourself first. Put yourself on a smart plan. Register yourself in your own website. Register yourself as a client through your MLS and see what your client is seeing. Have you guys done that yet? Has anybody taken the time to put themselves on? You have? Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's a really good idea, not only to know exactly what you're sending your clients, but you'll have clients that stick around for a while, and it's a great opportunity for them to actually weigh in. I'll ask people, what did you think about that? How did you like that? How did this work? How are you enjoying the search? Was there anything that was clumsy or clunky? What did you like best? And just always getting feedback.
Yes, also if I happen to run into them and they told me I didn't like this about it, or I liked this about it, I wanted to know what they were talking about. So that's
absolutely. Absolutely. And if it hasn't come to you, Lucy, you would have no idea what they're actually even talking about. So putting yourself on the smart plan is a good idea. I think it's good practice to at least start off with that.
Yeah, I did that with the nurture. I put mine in to start right away, and so I got that in an email to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'll know what that looks like when they get it. I also made in Google Docs the contact information sheet that I can send out to make sure I have gathered all of it. So I sent that to my personal email address. I filled it out, and then I saw how it came back to me.
Good.
So I was able to navigate that whole thing.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that we use on our team, and our PC crew is doing as well. We are huge fans of Google Forms. Anybody use Google Forms in this group?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everything I do is Google based, I think. But the Google Form is such a great leverage piece for you. You can have, like what Beth was talking about for her database, just to even clean up the database to make sure she's getting all the information she wants from everybody who's in her sphere, everybody's in her database. You could put a Google Form together that's just hey, can you please take a few minutes to fill this out? I want to make sure I have the most accurate information from you so I can send you items of value, things about neighborhoods, so we can stay in touch. And so you're asking for, and it's crazy easy. You just sign into your email via Gmail. There's a box that has 9 little dots on the top right hand side. Here I'm screen sharing. This right here. So you'll go to Forms. We do this with our buyers and our sellers and our database. So and you can create a Google form, so you can start off with blank, or they give you ideas to help you build one out if you want. But for instance, okay, so here's one. The new listing info. So what we can do is, actually, that's not the right one. What we can do is we can talk to our database and send them an email that says, please make sure I've got your full name correct, your mailing address correct, your cell phone. You can ask for anniversary, you can ask for birthdays, because this is an opportunity to put that information into Command, right? And so with the Google form, you can get this information from them. Before I go on a listing presentation, I could put a Google form together. For instance, this is it, the seller information sheet. So what's the name of the sellers who are on the deed? What's the address? Do you text? What's your email? How often do you check email? What's the best way to communicate with you? But this is capturing information from our soon-to-be seller. And this populates into a spreadsheet. And so we have all of this information that then we can turn around and we can put their contact information into Command if we so choose. But Google Forms are fantastic. You can use them for anything. but I love them. They definitely capture a lot of information that you will need from your client. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Sorry guys, my computer is dragging quite a bit. Okay. So, qualifying your buyers. This is where we're jumping into the qualify. So when you're having these conversations with these leads, because they're not necessarily buyers yet, you're finding the buyers, you're cultivating these buyer leads, and now you need to qualify them. How do you guys qualify your buyers? What questions do you ask? I want to hear from you.
I don't qualify them, the lender qualifies them. I just ask questions about where are they living right now, what do they like or don't like about their current living situation, where are they planning to go, what would they like in their next house, what areas do they like, or what do they want to be close to, what's important, schools, work, their commute, all kinds of questions. I always tell them, the more questions I ask now, the shorter the search process will be. And the less questions I ask now, maybe the more houses we'll have to see, because I will have less narrowed down, I guess.
That's a good script.
Thank you.
That's a really good script. I like that. The more questions I ask now, the less amount of time that we're going to be spending looking at houses. The quicker I'm going to get you to what you're looking for. I like that. That's a really good script. Y'all should write that one down. That was a good one. Thank you for sharing that. So after you've had these conversations with the buyers, you can qualify them by putting them into 3 different categories, and this kind of makes it easier. If you break it down to, sorry, sometimes I forget that you guys have these in front of you. There you go. If you break it down to A buyers, B buyers, and C buyers. So this is what you want to see, and this will go over to your pipeline when you're tracking your pipeline. So A buyers are able, ready, willing, they're ready to purchase. You know that there's everything, they've done everything they need to do to be ready to purchase a property. So you could have them under contract and close within 30 days. So that's an A buyer. A B buyer, they're ready and they're willing, but maybe just not just yet. So there's something that's preventing them from purchasing in the next 30 days. So let's say they're moving here for a new job. So they're ready, they're willing, they're able. However, their timeline hasn't kicked in yet. So they are going to be somebody that you may not be closing in the next 30 days. They might need to get their existing home under contract, for instance. They might be waiting for their lease to expire if they're renting. They may be waiting for their tax return. We see buyers who are waiting for that nice little check after filing taxes to help with their down payment. So there might be a reason why they're waiting, but they're going to buy. They're gonna wait. They're not right there in that first 30 days. And then there's the C buyers, and the C buyers just don't have an immediate need at all. They may have, for example, they had to sell their house at a particular price. So no matter what, they can't budge off that. So that might keep them from being able to move as quickly. Or let's say that they are a buyer who is specifically looking in a neighborhood or a subdivision, a development. Let's say I'm ready to buy a house. However, I have to buy in Locust Creek, and I'm not going to buy anywhere else. So until a house shows up there, I'm not buying a house. So they're ready and willing, but for some reason, they're not going to happen in the next 30, 60 days unless you know, all the stars are aligned. So then you need to know what to do in each stage to make sure that you're nurturing those leads according to where they are in that qualification. So you might put a lead on a smart plan and command. You might create a neighborhood landing page for a lead. You've got to figure out exactly where they are as far as how you are going to follow up with them. So here we go. Here's the slide that was talking about the able, ready, willing to purchase, qualifying your buyer leads. Able, ready, but not right now, are B's. C's, you know, they're just not quite ready. They'll get there, but they're not there yet. So the buyer lead sheet. This is crazy important. Does everybody have a buyer lead sheet that they use when they're having conversations? I think this is crazy important, and it makes it really easy just to know that you've got specific questions that you need answered when you're talking to a new lead. For me, I have these printed out and in a binder. I always have a big 3-ring binder, and in my 3-ring binder, I have where I track how many dials I make, how many appointments I set, and then I've got some, you know, I've got an area for notes too. But I also have the buyer lead sheet, and you can do this with the Google form as well, but this is in your electronic toolkit, so you have this. So this is the buyer lead sheet, and you use that buyer lead sheet in your toolkit to guide you through that buyer qualification. So it'll help you uncover whether or not a buyer is actually ready, whether or not they're able to buy, and whether or not they're willing to purchase a home. It also kind of helps you establish control over the conversation. So when your buyer is asking questions like about a property, you can say, okay, I'll get you those answers. We'll definitely look at that property. In the meantime, I've got some questions for you. So you're trying to get some answers around price, motivation, what their wants and needs are. You want to know what their timelines are. You want to know about finances. I'm looking over here to see if that, nope, okay.
And Kristen, I'm not sure if you know that we're not seeing your screen anymore.
Oh no.
I think you took it off share, or maybe it's just me. Does anyone else see hers? Okay, yeah, we don't see the screen. There we go.
Got it?
Yep,
So guys,
perfect.
I'm talking about the buyer lead sheet. Does this look familiar? So I have something like this that's printed off, and I just go through it. I just ask the questions while I'm talking to someone. And then you learn more about price, motivation. You make sure that you're asking the questions around wants and needs. You ask the questions around timeline. You dig into their finances. Remember we talked about your buying power. And then to make sure that they are going to be available, you know, when are they available? Is this a client that can only look after 6 p.m. Monday through Friday? Is this a client who prefers to look on the weekends? You're going to want to know that information so you can set those expectations and making sure that you're meeting their expectations. It's a great opportunity for you to find out whether or not you've got a client that expects you to be available at the drop of a hat. And I ask those questions. What is reasonable to you? So if you reach out to me and I don't respond to you for 2 hours because I'm showing property to another client, is that a reasonable expectation to know that I will get back with you within 2 hours? And that's a real opportunity for you to lay out those expectations with your clients right then and there. And this helps, having that sheet. Just make sure that you haven't forgotten to ask anything. And the importance of using a tool is to avoid wasting time with leads that aren't ready to buy. I mean, bottom line is that this is our business, and time is important to us, right? And so we have to make sure that the time we are spending with others is time that's going to get us to a payday, bottom line. And so if you're talking to someone who is absolutely not ready to buy now or can't qualify to buy, you need to know that going in. And this will help you do that by using this form. Doesn't mean that they're a dead lead. It just means that they're not your right now client. Does that make sense? Okay. So this goes into an exercise next. Are you guys doing these exercises? The role play?
I think we should.
I think so too. I think it would be a good idea. So it says here that we're going to do some qualifying the buyer for, do a role play here with a participant, the process of asking qualifying questions of a buyer. Now that you've shown how to qualify your buyer leads, let's practice with a partner. Can we see this sheet? Where is that sheet? Do we have an example of that, Amy?
It's probably in the drive. I apologize. I didn't realize I need to have that ready, but let me see.
No, that's on
Find
me.
it. And it's a role play for finding buyers.
Yes.
Okay. I'm in the drive. Let's see.
It says participant guide, page 5.
No, I see the buyer lead sheet in there.
Nope.
No, it might be something I need to grab off of the KW Connect, but I don't want that to
No,
hold
use
us up.
mine. No. We won't let it hold us up.
No, I'm looking in here too. Referrals and lead gen mode, but that's not.
Okay, so
No,
what we're
sorry.
gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of a role play, but here's what I'm gonna do. Give me 1 second and I'm gonna get you guys a qualifying sheet. If my computer doesn't take forever. Can you guys see that? Hanging over and over and over again?
I can see the drive.
Yeah, all right, so this isn't gonna work. So let's just jump in. All right. So what are some questions? Let's come up with our own then. What are some questions we're gonna ask? Unmute yourselves. Let's think about what we're gonna ask of our, and I'll write them down. What are we gonna ask as we're qualifying? What do you wanna know?
I want to know what's motivating them to look for another home or a new home, and what timeline.
Okay.
I'd want to know whether or not they've spoken with a loan officer, or to see, you know, and how much money they've been, I guess, pre-qualified for, what their buying power is.
Perfect.
There you go. I was listening.
There you go. Anything else?
I'd like to know if there's a house they've got in mind. Sometimes people aren't necessarily in the market until they drive through their neighborhood and think, ooh, look at that beautiful house.
Right.
And so that'll give me even if that house is not necessarily available, it'll give me hey, they like yellow houses with big front porches.
Absolutely.
And because I have a senior in high school, I always ask people if they have kids, and if the school district or the school area is of consideration as they're looking for a new house.
So do you need a specific school district?
Yeah, so in Jefferson County and Louisville, it's, you know, I still don't understand how their schools work there, but in Shelby County, there's a line. You on this side of the line, you go to this school, on that side of the line, you go to that school. But it's important. I've had that be important to some buyers before, where their kid was going to go to school.
Yep, that's a good one. What else could we ask?
What does the house must have? And then what would you like it to have? But maybe it's not a deal breaker. Also, have you, where do you usually look for houses online? Or have you seen them in person? How do you usually see them? Do you go to open houses? Has somebody shown you houses?
Oh, wait, stop on that one.
That should be the first question, right?
That's a good one. That was one I was hoping to hear. Has anyone shown you houses? Why do we ask that question?
Are they working with anybody?
Mhm.
Yeah, we need to know that. And that's a great way to ask it, because a lot of times when you say, have you hired a real estate agent, or are you working with a real estate agent? Sometimes people don't necessarily know exactly what that means, or there are times that they want the right now. So they'll say, no, I haven't hired anybody. And in their mind, they might think that they haven't. But when you're asking, has anyone shown you any houses yet? That's a completely different question. And if they say yes, then you can dig in a little deeper and find out whether or not an exclusive buyer's agreement was signed. But yeah, that's a really good one. Has anyone shown you houses? Any other questions?
Did somebody say timeline to buy?
Timeline to buy, yep. So what we have so far is, of course, the information that you'll need is name, address, phone number, email address. You could get birthday if you'd like, anniversary if you'd like while you're in there. Motivation, why are they buying? Timeline, when do they need to be in a new home? Lender, have they talked to a lender? Do they know what their buying power is? Is there a particular house you have in mind? Did you see something that you liked? That's a good question. Do you have a specific school district that you are looking in? That does matter in some areas. What are your must-haves in a house? We absolutely must have this. And then you could take that a step further if you wanted and say, here are your must-haves. Maybe what's your wish list? A little different from your must-have. If you could have everything, what would it be? Where do you want to look? Where do you look at homes? Are you looking on specific websites? Where do you get your information? Why do we ask them, where do they like to look at homes? Why would you ask that?
Gives you an idea of their savviness, for one, and two, it kind of helps you meet them where they are. If they've got a list of 10 homes they've already saved on Zillow or somewhere, that'd be very helpful.
It would be helpful. What about if they were looking on Zillow? Is there anything that you would tell them about Zillow, for instance, or Trulia, any of those websites?
That it doesn't, I'm looking for the word in English. It doesn't match. It shows active when it's pending, and do you know what I mean?
Inaccurate.
It's not
Yeah.
always accurate.
Yeah, it's not always accurate. There's a lot of misinformation on those websites. And what happens is it ends up confusing our clients when they see that information. So not that I'm trying to slam Zillow. I just want my client to be the best, as educated as possible. And if they're getting inaccurate information, it does not make my job any easier. And it actually kind of can cause some tension for the client if they are assuming that the information they're getting from Zillow is accurate. If they see a listing that says it's active and in reality it's been pending for 30 days and it was the house of their dreams, it's kind of a bummer when they see it on Zillow as active. Or the Zestimates, how much a house is worth, that information is inaccurate. So we definitely want to know where they're looking so we can guide them to where they need to be. Your KW app, that kind of, that's why we want to get that information. And then of course, has anyone shown you any houses? Any other questions you can think of for your qualifying?
Kristen, I just wanted to let you know, I just posted in the chat room the buyer lead sheet that we were talking about. And if you scroll down that lead sheet, it actually has the questions. So I was looking in the script book and I realized that it's actually there on that lead sheet. So everyone should be able to open that up. It's a PDF.
Except for Kristen. Fantastic. Okay, can everybody open that up? So what's on there? Anything on there that we've missed?
Let's see, if you, would it be okay if you stop sharing your screen and then I can pull that up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My computer's slow today too. I don't know why.
It's a Monday morning. It's just the way it works.
The one that I catch on there is who will be living in your home. I think that's interesting because they may need a mother-in-law suite or may need a spot for grandma.
Yeah, great point.
That's smart.
Okay.
In your home.
Can everyone see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like, yeah, they have you seen any properties? Anyone else buying the home with you? Who will be living there? How long you've been looking? Why are you moving?
Oh, the rent one is a good question. Are you renting now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. And let's see, cash. I like when you were talking earlier about being pre-approved. I always use the script. Will you be using cash or will you be getting a lender? Just because people don't want you to assume that they always need to get a loan. What price are you comfortable with? I've never heard it worded that way before.
I like that.
Mhm. Yep.
Instead of just asking what's the price point, what price are you comfortable with? That's a great question. And it takes away that whole, going back again to what you're approved for, what you qualify for. How many times I've heard clients say, well, I'm approved for 350, but I don't want to spend more than 300. It's like we have to tell somebody that we can actually do more than what we're going to do. Well, I mean, it's just kind of silly. So what do you want to spend? Like, what are you comfortable with? I like that question. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, number 9. Check out number 9.
Yeah. Anyone else involved, because you want to have them all there so you know who you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's going to happen, guys. One of the things you'll find is you'll have, let's say Amanda calls you and she wants to look at a house in Germantown and she's looking at a price point of 125 and she's excited and it's going to be her first home purchase, and you don't do this qualifying script. And then what we find out is that Amanda's actually not buying the home, Dad is. So
Yeah.
we need to know if Dad's involved
Mm-hmm.
right in the beginning, because you're going to be needing to have conversations with Dad too, not just Amanda, because Dad's going to have his own concerns that Amanda doesn't know. Amanda's just going to be excited because she's got granite counters in the kitchen. Dad's going to be looking at the roof, looking at the HVAC. So we need to know those kind of things. So that's a great question. Number 9. I like the scale of 1 to 10.
So
What do
you
you
want to
need?
have them rate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's the perfect home. Okay, fantastic. This is a good one, guys. I like that.
And so, yeah, I've posted that there, but it's also in the toolkit. And just for anyone who wasn't on when we first started, the Drive address is in the chat room to get to all of the toolkit and all of those resources. So I'm going to stop sharing and give you back the screen there, Kristen.
Fantastic. Thank you. So let's do a little role play. I want somebody to go through this qualifying script or the qualifying sheet. Who wants to start? Come on, somebody's got to jump in for some role play here.
I can start.
Okay. Who's going to be my lead?
I can do that.
Okay, Howie, you're going to be the potential buyer.
Great.
All right, let's jump in.
All right. Hi, Howie. How are you today? This is
I'm
Beth
good.
Mustillo with Keller Williams.
Good to talk with you.
Good to talk with you too. Listen, I know that you're interested in looking for a home, and I just wanted to go through a few questions with you to make sure that I have all the information that will assist me in doing that with you. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. About how long is this going to take?
Probably about 10, 15 minutes. Will that work with your schedule?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, perfect. First, just regular contact information. Obviously, I have your name, email, and your mobile number, but would you be able to give me your address?
Sure. Yeah. It's 2107 Allen Mead Road. That's all one word.
Okay.
And it's here in Louisville, 40205.
Okay, great. And what about your, are you married?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. We got 2 kids and 1 on the way. That's why we're looking for a house.
Oh, that's exciting. What
Yeah.
are their ages?
Sure. It's 5 and 2 and then almost.
Oh, that's a handful. That's great. And then what is your wife's name?
Stacia.
Okay. I was just going to interrupt here. There's nothing on here showing a spouse's name too. That might be something we'd want to have on there, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And then normally in a normal day, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Do you prefer text, phone,
Text.
email?
Yeah, text is always the best.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. And then what times are generally best for you if we were to go look at some potential houses?
Anytime before noon. Typically, my work schedule is in the evenings. You know, I'm a second shift, so
Oh, okay.
anytime in the mornings would be great.
Yeah, we can definitely work within that time period. That would be great. And then I would just interested to know, had you worked with any agent, any agent that has shown you a home yet?
I've got a friend who showed me a house, but that was probably a couple months ago, and I wasn't ready to buy at that point.
Okay. Do I ask then if did you sign an agreement with him for him to be your exclusive realtor?
No, it was more informal. It was he just said, "Hey, I've got this house, and I think it'd be really cool for you guys," and we just went and checked it out, but it was way too small.
Okay, great. And then you said before that you're going to have your 3 kids and your wife, of course. Is there anybody else that would be living with you?
No, not right now.
Okay. And how long, I know that you've obviously looked a few months ago, but have you looked further out than that, or are you just starting?
I kind of looked a little bit more, but nothing serious just yet. I think we're ready to get serious now.
Okay, great. Well, we'll definitely see what we can do. I know that you said you have a new one on the way, which is great. So your motivation for moving is are you looking then to buy a larger home to accommodate your growing family?
Yeah, we need at least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 bathrooms. And the other big thing is we want to live near St. Matthew's Elementary.
Okay.
That's where we'd like our kids to go. And my wife volunteers there, so we'd like to kind of stay close there.
Okay, great. I'm familiar with that area, so we can definitely look within that school district. That would be great. Now, do you currently own your own home right now, or are you renting?
Yeah, we own currently.
Okay. And to purchase this new home, will you have to sell your current home in order to purchase the new one?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll need to sell that.
Okay. And then, so looking at a good time for us to get together to sit down and go through some more specifics. Sorry, I lost my place for a minute.
Oh, you're good.
So Howie, are you planning on paying cash, or are you going to take out a loan?
We'll be financed. We have some equity in our current house, so
That's great.
yeah. Once we sell that, we'd put that on down payment and then finance the rest. Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you spoken with a lender yet?
I have a longstanding account at a credit union, and so we've got kind of a pre-approval process there. Would I need to be pre-approved before we look at houses?
Yeah, I would advise that you do that. So we have a number to kind of look at. Do you know what you're pre-approved for?
The last time I checked was about a year ago, and it was about 190, 200, something like that. I think we'd probably be a little bit more now, but I can check on that.
Okay, if you could check on that, and usually a lender will give you a pre-approval letter. If you could get that to me too, that would be great. That way I have it with me. Were you going to put a percentage down then, and what would that be?
Yeah, we most likely do the 20% and then save anything else for renovations.
Okay, and I know that you said that you were pre-approved for 190 to 200. Is that a comfortable range for you, or?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than that. I think when I search online, I search for anything under 235.
Okay, that sounds good. And then obviously, your wife would be a partner in making these decisions as well. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if we get to the point of touring a house, we would definitely tour together.
Okay, and that would be great. And then was she from a time perspective for looking at homes? I know that you said mornings were best for you because you're doing second shift. What about times for her? Would that work for her as well?
It would, yeah. We would just need probably a day's notice. Her mom would come over and keep the kids while we go check out the house.
Okay, that goes to with, we like to give the seller a 24-hour notice as well when we schedule an appointment.
Cool.
And then on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 meaning that you have to get in the house quickly and as possible, and 1 meaning, it's not of the utmost importance. Where would you rate your time frame?
Pretty quick. School's going to start in August. And so we'd like to be in there pretty quickly. So I don't know what that would, maybe in 8 or 9, but given that we have to sell our current house, we understand that's probably not a realistic time frame.
Right. Well, it could be, we're 2 months out. So, we'll do our best or I'll do my best to, see if we can get you something quickly, as well as list your house quickly. And so I would love to help you buy a home. So I just like to set an appointment so we can sit down with you and your wife. And that way we can get you want and the time that you want. And just, what do you have a time that would work for you in the next few days for both you and your wife?
Yeah. What's tomorrow morning look like?
I have a 9 o'clock. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's
That'd be at our house, your place.
Yes, I'd love to come by your house, and that way having a look at your house as well, because we want to get that listed too. And we can kind of start looking at that as well. I think that's great. Well, it has been a lot of great information you've given me. Do you have any questions or think there's something that you need to tell me that I have not covered?
Good question.
If we get a buyer, or I think I've had somebody say that they're interested in my house previously.
Okay.
Would I be signing with a real estate agent for the selling and the buying, or could you help me with the buying part and I can sell my house on the other side?
No, I would like to be, an exclusive agent on both sides for you. I can absolutely 100% list your home. And, if that buyer's interested, certainly that would be great. And then on the flip side of that, I can find you your forever home for you and your family.
Sounds good. So tomorrow morning at 9, huh?
That's great. I've got it down and I look forward to meeting you and your wife.
Do we need to clean first?
You do not.
Are you forgiving? Because we got kids.
You do not. I only have 1 child, but I've been in many homes that have more than 1, and my home isn't always clean with 1 either. So nope. You can be in your pajamas for all I care. It's early morning. So
All right. Sounds good.
Look forward to it. Take care now.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good job. Congrats.
My
Good
first one.
job.
How'd I do?
You did a great job. That was fantastic. You guys have any feedback for our agent Beth? Howie, you did a great job being a buyer too.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you.
Feedback. I love that she was complimentary at the beginning, and she was very, very nice in the conversation. Is that a comfortable range? She mentioned that. Is your partner going to be part of the decisions? I like that she mentioned that. Is there anything that I have not covered that you think might be important? I like that.
That was a good one.
My sales background.
I like that she said about 24-hour notice on the showings, because that set an expectation with them. Like, don't call me to see a house in 2 hours, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that. I would have, though, when you said, will you have to sell? I don't know if it's uncomfortable of a question, but are you looking to also sell your house, or maybe
the wording?
Maybe word it some different way. And also when you said, like, send me over the lender letter and just leave it to them to send it, I would say, is it okay if I tell my lender to contact you to get your letter set up, and then the ball is on your court.
Okay, yeah,
Instead of
good.
just leave it to them to do it. That's it.
Yeah, it kind of solidifies the relationship. If I say to Howie, why don't you give me your lender's contact information and I will reach out and introduce myself and get the letter from your lender, it just makes it seem more like you are now definitely Howie's realtor and you're going to go take care of that. That's a good point. And I do love the whole, that question, is there anything that I haven't asked? You know, anything that's missing, any questions that you might have. That was a good one. Anything else? Any other ahas or Shelley?
Some things I liked. So you talked about, you asked Howie, was he pre-approved? And he said, yeah, last year we were pre-approved for 190 to 200, but the key there is last year. So especially as we went into COVID, lenders got real squirrely real fast and things started happening. So if they were previously pre-approved, it's a great time to go back and see, are they still approved for that amount?
Right.
Has anything changed? And a lot can happen in 1 year. So great asking him that, and then definitely check on the pre-approval now. I like that you did 2 birds with 1 stone. You're like, oh, well, let's meet at your house. That way you can check it out to get it ready to list, and then you can have their meeting with them. And then when he was like, well, do you have to be my realtor? Can I sell it myself? You were very confident, and basically you asked for the job.
Yeah, that's good.
You said, I can help you with that. I want to be your realtor on the, basically how you said it, front end, back end. But we've got to ask for the job. And I think a lot of times we are intimidated or nervous or uncomfortable to ask for the job. And you did a good job with that.
Yeah.
And Beth, I thought you handled that really well. Instead of saying, no, I don't have to be, which is true, you phrased it better than that and saying, I would love to represent you on, for selling your house. It's a much more positive way to say that. I thought that was really good.
I would never say, I would never want to do that.
Yeah, that was good though. That was good.
The other interesting thing about the I was pre-approved previously is maybe that's an opening to say, did you find a house previously, or what happened with that transaction? Was it and so I wonder if there's more to that story.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's great.
One place where I would have wanted to dig into is when you said that you saw a house with your realtor friend. And so, or was it a friend or a brother? It was somebody close to you.
Friend.
Yeah, friend, yeah.
Friend, realtor friend. And so I would dig in a little too into that, because I want to make sure that you're not going back to your realtor friend. Like, if you guys really are friends, so then the question is, okay, Howie, so your realtor friend, your friend who is a realtor showed you property last year. I just want to make sure that, we're not causing any hard feelings here. Is your friend going to be okay with you working with me?
Yeah.
Are you going to be okay with working with me instead of your friend?
Mm-hmm.
And just go ahead and just put that one to rest and make sure that you're good there, because you would hate for that friendship to be, and that does happen. So
it's I have a house under contract right now where it's a friend of mine, and one of her best friends is a realtor down in E-Town. And I said, is that going to cause a problem? I said, I don't want to cause a problem with you and your friend. She's like, no, she's a little too far away. She doesn't want to fool with Shelbyville. I was like, okay.
There you go.
So
yeah, it's a good thing to get out of the way right in the beginning.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That makes sense.
And one other thing that I would just put out there just for you guys to keep in mind, that we can't always assume that it's man, woman, husband, wife relationship.
Right.
We've got to get into the practice of talking about your partner, your significant other, because we have no idea.
That's right.
So,
yeah, I had asked if he was married, and I should have said, what is your spouse's name? Or, well, I guess if he said Chris or something.
Yeah. Once you get corrected once, you'll be like, oh, I don't need to say that.
Yeah.
I know.
And just, from a straight point of view, like the partner thing is that's a great term. It works for everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really does. It covers everything. So it's a great, you guys did an awesome job. Thank you.
Great job, Beth.
Well done. Yeah. I appreciate you stepping up, Beth. Just knocking it out of the park. So that was your first one?
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Okay. So let's get that buyer agreement signed. Now that we've gone through the qualifying script and we know that we've got a qualified buyer here, let's get the buyer agreement signed. How many of you guys have buyer agreements that you get signed for your buyers?
Definitely.
I will when I have one.
I
Yeah.
haven't.
You haven't,
I
Shelley?
haven't. Mm-mm.
Lucy, you're sometimes? Just depends.
Shelley, is it because you know that? I mean, like, I understand, because like with this one that you were talking about with your
Right.
friend, you might not have her sign it, but you
Sure.
don't do anything really.
No, I've been an agent for almost a year. In August, in about 4 weeks, it'll be a year. And I asked that question because, they talked about it when we went through school.
Mhm.
And my team leader was of the opinion, she's like, yeah, we don't use them. You can use them if you want. Sometimes they scare people away. So I could see both sides of the situation. And I've talked about it with other agent friends. It's just not something I've done to this point.
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to it. I don't quite know how to do it at this point. Is it weird? Is it not weird? I don't know. So I'm kind of on the fence
You're
about it.
here because we can talk about it.
Okay, good.
So, and I understand. I did not use a buyer's representation agreement for the first 9 years of business.
Okay.
And if I were to go back and think about how many deals I likely lost over those 9 years because I didn't have that, you probably run into, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 deals. So not a whole heck of a lot, but there were deals that I did lose because I didn't have that buyer's agreement signed. There were times where, our broker would have to step up and go to bat for some agents because, she showed them those, because in the beginning, before those buyer's agreements were really getting signed, we would use the consumer guide and the buyer agency agreement or the buyer disclosure. And so we would use that. We'd say, well, they signed a consumer guide. That means they're our client. So so many times we put that in front of someone and said, oh, this works, this works. Well, what happened was people started figuring out that no, that doesn't work. Nice try. So we talked about doing buyer's agreements, and in that office, it just never happened. When I joined KW and joined the River Valley Group, KW was saying to us, are you kidding? Of course you get one signed. Why would you go out and show a client any property without having that signed first? This is your business. You want to protect your business, right? Well, then I've actually seen it firsthand work. So I'm a huge fan now. So the buyer's agreement. This is something that a lot of agents have some, I don't know if it's difficulty, uneasiness, awkwardness around, uncertainty. And so we're going to kind of dig into that buyer's agreement. So you've asked for the business. When will you be ready to buy? You've asked for the appointment. Does tomorrow at 3 or Friday at 1 work for you? You've figured out whether or not they have financing needs. Have you been pre-approved? Are you paying cash? You've asked all these qualifying questions. Now we're going to ask for the business and become a realtor for this client, right? So we're asking them to hire us. So that's when we get the, can I sign? I can share again, can I? Let me go over here. Get you guys back on the slides.
And Kristen, just a heads up too, in the drive, if you go into that drive, you'll see the scripts. I have a folder in there with scripts, and there's 2 different packets of script books. One's Elementals and one is Sparks. And inside the Elementals, it shows you how to handle the objections to signing the agreement too.
Ooh, let's take a look.
Helpful.
That will be helpful. Okay, so then I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Is that okay? Because I feel like when I go to this, it stops. Okay. Does everybody have those? Can you guys see those? What Amy was just talking about?
And I can share it too. I've got the this pulled up here. So it's in the Elementals scripts on, let's see, page 17. So they have 3 or 4 things to say here, it looks like.
Okay. So okay, so Howie, because of the level of service I provide, I can only work with buyers who work exclusively with me. Let me remind you that by signing, you are not agreeing to pay me a fee. You're agreeing to have me represent your best interest and to use my knowledge and expertise to find you the best home at the best price. That is what you want, isn't it? To find the best home for the best price?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, yeah. I love how this starts out. So let's say the objection first that we get is, I don't want to sign anything. I may want to work with other agents. So how do you handle that? The script says, when you engage with me as your real estate sales representative and sign the buyer's representation agreement with me, I'm contractually obligated to share any information about the seller's situation that I find out. For example, if it's a divorce, relocation, or an estate sale. Without that agreement in place, I'm actually a sub-agent to the seller. That means that I do not represent you and I cannot share that information with you. I want to be your advocate, not theirs. Let's do the right thing and sign the buyer's representation agreement today. That is a fantastic script, and we don't have sub-agency.
I think that Harry Borders has talked to us about that. So I believe in Kentucky we might.
We might have sub-agency that we can use?
You know, oh, you mean, I mean the law itself. Yeah. So this would be a correct answer, a correct response to that. And I like, what I like about it is something that we always learn through our bold scripts. It's problem presentation. You know, you're pointing out to them that if they don't do something, we've got a problem, and we want it to be smooth for you.
Yeah. So you're talking about that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I love this because, and it is true. I didn't know we could call it sub-agent, but I know that Harry has talked to us about that, where it is true that we basically have a form of representation to that seller until the buyer's agreement is signed and we specifically represent that buyer.
Right. You know, one thing that I remember that Harry told us, and it's something that we always should keep in mind as we are showing homes, is that if you don't have this signed, and if you walk into a home and you're making comments about the house that the seller doesn't find, you know, agreeable, they could, you know, you could actually be in trouble for that.
Right.
You know, that because if you are the sub-agent of the seller and you've made a negative comment about their cabinets, you know, they have a valid complaint against you.
Right.
And we should always assume that even though the seller's not there, that things are recorded or
absolutely
on camera.
Always assume you are being watched and listened to when you show a property.
That's right.
Rule of thumb number one, just expect that. And tell your clients that too. So let your clients know, especially, I mean, well, it just doesn't matter. I was going to say, especially if they're brand new or first-time home buyers, it really doesn't matter. Your clients need to know that there is a likelihood that they are being watched and listened to when they are going into homes. So just let them know ahead of time. And if we have any comments that we want to make, let's make sure we make them outside. Really good point. Okay, so back to this. What if I change my mind during this 30-day period? I completely understand. 30-day period, it's interesting. My buyer's agreement is 180 days. So let's just say, what if I change my mind during this period, this time period? I understand completely. Think of this agreement as a form of going steady, not marriage.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. If you decide at any time that you don't want to go steady anymore, we can break up. There's no need for a divorce. You can break up with me if I'm not meeting your expectations. If you feel comfortable with that, you can just say okay with the agreement and sign right here. That's a good one. We're dating and we're not getting married. There you go. Objection number 3. I could find a home on my own through the internet. Well, searching for homes is the fun part, and we certainly use the internet to find a home. Finding your dream home is not why you hire a buyer's agent. You hire an agent to help you get the house you find. My job is to protect your interests throughout the home buying process and negotiate on your behalf to get you the best terms and the best price. Here's a great point. Know when to let a buyer go. Howie, I appreciate your decision. Since I can only work with buyers who work exclusively with me, I'll just have to wish you luck in your home search. Thanks again for coming in to meet with me today, and let me know if you change your mind. This is your business, guys. No one is going to protect your business. No one is going to make sure, no one's going to fight for your paycheck. You have to do that. And so when we know that our time is valuable, our time is spent earning money so we can pay the bills, so we can send our kids to college, so we can save for vacation, so we can buy that new car, whatever it is, so we can pay off debt, whatever it is that your money does, it's our job to protect that, right? No one else is going to do that. And having a buyer's agreement signed is what can help with that. And so when I get to, there's inevitably every time when we go over this buyer's agreement to sign, those objections are great. And I love those scripts. And I think it would be a great idea to study those. And actually we might do a little role play if we have some time. When I fill out mine with a buyer, would you guys like to hear kind of like what I talk about when I do mine? So what typically happens is when you're doing those buyer representation agreements, you're having your name, your client's name, you have a start date, you have an end date. You say for the next 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, whatever you put in there, we're going to be working together, starting today, ending this date. And then it talks about what my role is as your buyer's agent, what you can expect from me. The part that seems to trip agents up the most, and where I seem to get the two objections I hear most, is one, what if we want to break up? So that one, you know, am I locked in for 180 days? What if I change my mind, kind of thing. So I get that one. And then the other one is the commission. Because in our buyer's agent agreement, it says that you agree to make sure I'm getting paid 3%. That's what mine says. And so what happens is they'll say, well, what if I look at a FSBO who's not going to pay you? What happens? Well, you're agreeing to that I get paid 3%. So if the seller's not going to pay that, which they do in Kentucky, if they're not going to pay that, you're agreeing to pay that part of my commission. And so that one tends to be a bit of a sticky point for some clients. So here's how I explain it. I just say, hey, Howie, I've been doing this since 2005, and I have my buyers sign this buyer's agreement to work with me so I can protect their interests, and we become an official team together to help you find a home. I will tell you that in all this time period, I've had 2 sellers refuse to pay my commission. You want to know what my buyers did? My buyer on one deal chose not to look at the house. They said, we like you, Kristen. You are our agent, and we do not want to deal with a seller who's not willing to pay you. We didn't go see the house. The second deal, I had a seller that said, I'm not going to pay you the full 3%. We're going to pay 2.5%. So what did my buyer do? My buyer said, Kristen, we love working with you, and we're willing to pay the remaining to make sure you get 3% because we know you've worked that hard. So 2 instances since 2005 have I ever had a seller say, no, I'm not paying you 3%. So the chances of this happening, Howie, are very, very slim. And I do promise you that if there's something where you have a house that you want to see, and no matter what, no one can pay my commission of 3%, we'll work together. We'll figure out how to get you in that house. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
And people sign. I mean, it just doesn't, they just want to hear some clarification, some understanding and reassurance that this is so unusual, especially in this market. It just doesn't happen. Sellers typically pay the seller agent and the buyer agent. And it doesn't happen very often where your buyer is left having to pay your commission. So I understand that that's kind of a sticking point for some people. Just explain it. And that's an honest, you can use my example. You can say, an agent that I work with who's been doing this since 2005, she's told me, she's looked back on all of her deals and she knows that this has only happened to her twice. It just doesn't happen. So just some reassurance, I think, goes a long way with getting that signed.
So Kristen, I have a question. So in this, in our market in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, even the FSBOs, they realize that obviously they're not going to be paying 3% commission to a listing agent,
Mhm.
but they kind of understand that they're still obligated to pay for the buyer's agent.
Yeah, and what you'll see a lot of FSBOs, so if you go to FSBO.com, if you go to Zillow and you find these online, a lot of times it'll say on there, buyer's agents welcome at 3%. They'll have something on there. But I will call that seller before we ever go look, and I'll say, are you willing to work with a buyer's agent at 3%? And they'll tell me.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's definitely a clarifying, you want to get that clarification from the FSBO as to what their intention is. And you're right, in this market, I rarely see a FSBO say no. Do you guys see FSBOs saying, are you guys seeing sellers or FSBOs that are saying, no, we're not paying buyer's commissions? You have, Shelley? What's your experience been?
So I have clients relocating here from Georgia, and we've looked at a couple FSBOs. 3 actually. 2 of them said, no problem, we will totally pay the commission. But I had one guy that was kind of a poop head. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to pay that commission. And that's why I'm selling it myself. And I'm like, well, I'm happy to. He's like, do you really have a client? I said, I really do. They're really from Valdosta, Georgia. So he was kind of challenging, not super friendly. And then he's like, well, here's the deal. So I said, well, let me present it to my buyer. And my buyer, Tony, was like, guy's a jerk, not doing it. I'm like, okay.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened to me on my FSBO instance, where the guy was just like, nope, I'm not paying. And so what my buyer was like, why would I want to deal with somebody who's right off the bat saying I'm not going to negotiate?
That's right. So
Why would you want to?
Other FSBOs have been very kind, and and I've heard some agents say, oh, I've got buyers that might be interested in your house. And I really did have a buyer, but I think they're savvy to maybe some people not being entirely truthful, some agents not being entirely truthful. So yeah. Interesting.
And that does happen. I agree. That happens. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Hey, Kristen, I had heard in the past that some folks use the script about if the FSBO was not willing to pay, that you could even work with the lender to work that in to, your part of the commission into the deal. Have you ever had that happen?
Well, we use it as, you can use it as part of kind of like closing costs. But I don't know that you could work it into, I don't know. That's interesting. I've never had a lender suggest that we could work that into the loan.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. I just know one of our agents had trouble and the deal was going to go south because the FSBO was just very stubborn and unreasonable. And they really loved the house, so they had to work it out. Now, I know that there's guidelines too, based on an FHA loan. There's only a certain amount of closing cost, a percentage. I think it's 6%,
Right.
and then conventional is 3%. FH or VA, I think it's 4%, something like that. So you have to watch those guidelines as far as how much closing costs or seller concessions can even be allowed. But I know that was an option.
Makes sense, because when they write it in the settlement statement, I mean, it's considered part of the closing costs if the buyer is paying. That's interesting, but I never thought that you could roll it in like that. That's a question I've actually written that down. I want to get an answer on that.
Yeah, and it might depend on the lender, whether it's a part of figured into the main price or the closing cost help.
So there's a great question to ask a lender when you're interviewing your vendors and figuring out exactly who you want to work with. That's a great question to put out there. When can this be done, and when can it be done? How can we do that? In case you ever have to offer that to your clients. Interesting.
How do you word that question exactly to the lender, to your lender friends?
So lender, okay, so Shelley, you're my lender. Shelley, I've got a new buyer, and we're signing the buyer's agreement. Or no, Shelley, I have all my buyers sign a buyer's agreement. And in that buyer's agreement, it says that they're going to make sure that I get paid 3% at closing. I'm sure you've seen those before. And I'm wondering, is there a way, because I've heard this before, is there a way for you to roll that into the loan or into the closing, into the settlement statement as a closing cost for the buyer? I think that's the way I would ask it. That's the way I'm going to ask it. As soon as we hang up, I'm reaching out to my lenders and asking, and then I'm going to follow with, why have you not told me this before? Immediately.
And specifically in regards to for sale by owners.
Yes.
Okay. That's cool. It's a cool question.
Yeah. Or I guess it doesn't even have to be for sale by owner. You know, if you practice in Southern Indiana, oftentimes you'll see in Southern Indiana where they don't always provide or offer 3% to the buyer's agent. It seems to be, you know, a thing that happens over there. So I guess you could ask there too. Wow, we may have missed out a lot of opportunities with that. It's interesting. I'm going to get an answer on that. I'll report back too. I'm curious to know about that one. Thank you, Amy, for bringing that up.
My pleasure.
Okay, so where are we in this? I'm going back to sharing a screen. Okay, so we signed the buyer's agreement. Any questions around signing the buyer's agreement? Are you guys feeling any more comfortable about getting that done? Or would you like to talk more about that one? Because this is a big one. Good? All right, moving on to the next thing. Oh, look at that. Are we finished?
If you say we are.
It's the ahas to achievement. How has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindset? Wait. Sorry. We're new. Okay, so unmute, guys. I want to hear some ahas from today.
The scripting for the objections there at the end, I thought were really, really good, because I've sold house myself as just an amateur, and I had those same objections, and they weren't handled nearly as well by the real estate agent. Their answers were much more clumsy and ham-handed. So yeah, I like those answers.
Yeah, those scripts are fantastic. Those objection handlers were awesome. What other ahas do we have?
I have 3 ahas. Buying power. I used to use Amy's one. Are you planning on talking to a lender, or are you planning to buy cash? I felt comfortable, but another tool for my toolbox, buying power. Client info gathered in Google Forms. I think I'll start doing that. And another aha was getting the ABC really down, like ready, willing, but for some reason not able, and C, don't have an immediate need. I didn't have it specifically, you know, I didn't understand it specifically.
Yeah.
Those 3.
Categorizing them, qualifying them in that way will really help you make sure that you are spending the appropriate time with, you know, where you need to be, where you need to be focusing your time. What other ahas?
Yeah, I agree with Lucy on that. I really hadn't looked at it that way. And then I was looking, even kind of thinking about it even further, you know, Kristen, how I told you that my husband has some, at the company he's working for, some people are transferring here and they're renting for a year. So they're like a bee. They're going to have to find a home after a year, but it's just going to be a longer time frame than would be normal for that.
Right.
So for that, I set them up on a quarterly, in command, a quarterly nurture, where at least for the next, you know, year, I can, and I kind of did it strategically that in 3 months, you know, how are things going, that sort of thing. And then one at Christmas time, and then one, you know, in the spring to say, well, you know, now it's time where I would give them, you know, one of the list where, you know, what are your wants and needs, and, you know, go through that whole kind of the whole script that Howie and I just did.
Right. Absolutely. Any other ahas?
Yeah. I liked the buyer lead sheet.
Mhm.
I asked most of those questions on there, but I like how it's structured, and it doesn't let you forget to ask. So I thought that was good. I really liked the objection where it talked about we're just dating and we can break up if you don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Don't force. I think that is very relatable to people because they get scared of what have I just committed myself to? So I liked that a lot. And then I'm going to follow up with I have 2 lenders that I like a whole lot. I'm going to ask them the question about rolling the commission into the closing costs. So
Right.
it's a cool question.
That is a good question. So go ahead.
I was just thinking a one-liner that I used to use with getting that signed is, and as well as the listing agreement is, this is where you hire me. This is where you put me to work. This is where I can begin all of the things that I do to find your forever home or to get your home sold.
Yeah.
So you're reminding them, and it's just a clear-cut way of saying it, that yes, you're hiring me, but you're reminding them that you're a professional, and you don't have to say I don't get paid unless we close, but you're
Right.
me to work, and they can understand that.
Yeah, sometimes, and here's the thing too, guys, what I've learned over time, a lot of people do not know how we get paid. They make assumptions on how we earn our money. And it's very interesting when you dig into that and you find out that, for instance, if you're on a team, people will assume that you're getting a salary from your team. If I've even had people assume that Keller Williams pays me. If you're not used to working on commission, or if you don't know people, if you're not real close to people who are commission based, and there are a lot of people who have not had that experience. If you haven't had the experience with commission based income, it's not something you just think about. So it's up to us to educate. And so we can't make the assumptions that people understand how we get paid. And I've had a lot of luck, like walking people through the entire process as far as exactly what I walk away with. So a listing starts here, they agree to pay this goes to the sell side, this goes to the buy side, then this is divided with the broker, then this is divided with the team owner, and then right about down here is where I show up to get my little piece of the pie. And so when you break that down, it's a moment for people to go, oh wow, okay, now I get it. Of course I'm going to sign. We want to protect you and help you with your business. So sometimes it's just a matter of just breaking it down for people. There's no reason not to, and it's an aha for them.
Mm-hmm. And when you do that, that also helps deter those attempts that they may make to offer you less commission when you're dealing with the listing.
Yes.
When they truly see how it's broken down, and if they say, well, another agent offered to list my home for 5%, and then you break that down and you show that, well, they're always going to have to pay a cooperating broker. They're going to have to pay the broker split. You're going to have to pay the tax man. And then what's left is either what you take home or the marketing expenses. And if that other agent is willing to do this at 5%, where do you think that he's going to cut those costs?
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah, it does. It helps on both sides, buyer sides and seller side. So one of the questions here is, how will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions will you take going forward? So after this class, what will you change up? What actions will you take going forward?
I think I'd like to take that script and rewrite it in my own words, using a lot of the same words because I'm sure they've been researched and studied.
Right.
But, a few things that I wouldn't necessarily say, or say it a little differently, or maybe an extra sentence after. And then just, keep those printouts on hand for phone calls in my car.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I say I keep it in a 3-ring binder, I mean, and part of what I enjoy about having everything in that binder is, and like you just said, in the car, you can have that conversation no matter where you are. I don't have to be sitting at my desk or sitting in front of somebody to ask those questions. I can pull over in a parking lot and I've got my binder right there, and I've got all my information. And then the other fun thing I like about that is the fact that I've had these questions in front of me and I've written out the answers. If I'm not in front of command, if I'm not in front of my computer, I have my binder where I can go back to my desk, you know, an hour later, a day later, and update all the information just from those notes. But it's always there, and it's always, if you're like me, you're going to have papers everywhere. You're going to have information everywhere. So if I have everything in that binder, it becomes a helpful tool for me. What else? What other?
Oh, I was going to say, for me, I think a good action, and I think I tend to do this anyways, but by using command to set your follow-ups. So there's reminders that come to say, you know, you just reach out. So 2 days later, you know, maybe you send a text, and then another couple of days you'll send a call or call or whatever it might be that you're setting yourself up for. But by doing it in command, it's going to, you know, give you those reminders to do that. Mm-hmm. And if that becomes habit, then all of your clients will have that, you know. And then I think that's a huge way of staying organized and staying on top of everything, because, you know, one missed call, say you don't call that day, somebody else might call them.
Yep.
Or step in somewhere, you know.
Absolutely. And they're going to go with whoever's in front of them when they're ready to make the decision.
Right.
You just have to be the person that's in front of them. So yeah, follow-up is key. Follow-up's huge. And you guys have got to decide what system works best for you. You know, are you putting it on your Google Calendar? Are you putting the information in command? Are you, what works best for you? For me, I've got to have a couple of places that remind me. But you'll definitely you'll put it on your calendar when you're following up with who are you following up with? When do you do it? You have it in command. Follow-up's key. Any other actions you guys would take? Different behaviors? Yeah,
I am seriously going to consider that buyer's agreement.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just didn't know enough about it and listening to other people, but I definitely can see how it could be a useful tool. So it's something I'm going to absolutely consider.
Yeah, I tell you, when you see it protect your family's money, when you see it work, then you're going to be, it's like, okay, now this is why I do it. And it doesn't happen very often, but then in the few times when it does, you're like, okay, there's a reason this is here. And it does help. As a matter of fact, a quick story, Heidi's husband, Sean, was working with, I think, his cousin or his aunt. I mean, we're talking family here. And they signed a buyer's agreement with him and then went off to an open house the next weekend and wrote an offer on a house without him. And so he was able to say, no, you signed a buyer's agreement. You're working with me.
So I have a quick question about that. So my very second set of clients ever, I was showing them houses. They were a referral from one of my best friends, happy. And they didn't really like anything they were seeing in their price point over in the Hikes Point area. So all of a sudden they're like, boom, bought a house in Southern Indiana. And I'm not licensed in Indiana. So is there anything, I think I was just out of luck with that, but it was kind of a cruddy deal, but. So.
Yeah, you're out of luck on that one.
Yeah, okay.
The thing that would have been nice, Shelley, is if you could have referred them.
That's right.
Over there and at least gotten the referral fee.
You know, and if they had been straight with me, I've got a great agent that I've known for a long time in Southern Indiana. I totally would have referred them to her, but they were very, I'm going to use the word sneaky and shady about it. So unfortunately, but that's what happened.
So what could we do going forward, having conversations and setting the expectations with our clients to help alleviate that or eliminate that from happening again? Is there anything that you could say or do going forward?
Tell me shady.
What?
Shady.
Tell me shady. Just kidding.
I was just going to say, when I was talking to the people that are moving here from Pennsylvania, they're I've spoken with both of them, and they don't know for sure where they want to live. The office is in Covington, but they don't know whether or not they want to live in Kentucky or Ohio. And so I did make it clear that I'm happy to help you, guide you to where you want to be, but I'm only licensed in Ohio. However, I work with a partner in Kentucky, and I do now because I got my Kentucky girl.
Her name is Lucy.
But, and then, what'd you say?
Her name is Lucy.
Fantastic.
I'll keep you in mind for sure. But and so I set up that expectation that
Right.
if and it may be that they want to look in both places, they're going to have to use 2 agents. So
Right.
but I said we would be from the same company and we have all the same whatever. So they
And
have
that's
that
the reality with all of us on this screen, because even though we're not all in Louisville or we're all not in Northern Kentucky, we're all in an area that borders a state very closely.
Yeah.
So in the very beginning with those, that's an expectation that you can start putting in, you can start having that as part of your script of saying, okay, so I know we live really close to Indiana too. Are there any chances that you would want to look at property in Indiana, because I have a business partner in Indiana that would take great care of you. So you're already letting them know that if for some reason they decide they want to start looking that way, you've got somebody that's got them covered. And so maybe that can help eliminate that. Or you could just do what Shelley suggests and just tell them not to be shady.
And that's a big, I'm kidding. Kidding.
Kristen, I have something if it's okay with me to share.
Sure.
So it's my version of the buyer exclusivity agreement. And of course, we have our version up on the sales contract packets, and they're inside those packets that we print. A couple of years ago, I went to Brad and Harry Borders and got their approval on what I call my loyalty pledge. And when I started using that, I felt more comfortable using it, because honestly, I was just too uncomfortable with the legalese of the exclusivity agreement.
Right.
And it also kind of put some folks off. So what I did is I created a loyalty pledge, and I'm going to share that with you. And it's also in our Facebook resource group under the files section. And I'm also happy to share that with folks that aren't in our group.
Sure.
But it just has this. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
So it has those expectations. So Kristen, you were talking about, setting expectations, and that's kind of what I begin with. My loyalty pledge to you is that I will do all of these things. And then at the bottom, it's your loyalty pledge to me. And it's, all of the things that I noticed through the years that cause deals to get squirrely, or would cause them not to go through. And if you notice at the bottom, it also has the info on the for sale by owner. So we are still addressing that there. And that's really the only place where people stop and ask more questions. But because they kind of see those expectations of what I'm going to do for them, one, it reminds them of all the hard work that I'm putting in. And then the things that we're asking from them, it reminds them of how very important it is to get things done quickly and to keep communicating with me. And I never had anybody say that they would not sign this. So
Yeah, this is fantastic. And that is a good reminder too, Amy. I've never had a buyer tell me no when I've asked them to sign a buyer's agreement. We always assume that we're going to chase them off. But when you put this out and you explain, I've never had somebody say no. And that's the great script in the other one that we were looking at. So then you might have to decide right then and there whether or not you're willing to work with somebody. If they're not willing to sign, why would you be willing to work with them?
right, you're seeing their shadiness right off the bat.
Right. This is nice. Thank you for sharing that. I like this.
Yep. And I can send a copy of this to you, or you're on our resource group too.
Yeah.
So again, it has Harry's blessing, which I would never want to put anything in front of you all if it wasn't approved by an attorney.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And I will thank you. I will share that with our team here. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, we have 1 minute and we're going to go early. I've had a good time. I hope this was valuable to you. Was it?
Very much.
Very nice. Thanks.
Value? All right. Thank you for everything you guys do. Thanks for showing up. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kristen.
Bye.
Bye.
Appreciate it.